I wouldn't go out at night in Miami. It's dangerous. Be careful. There's a lot of drug addicts around there.
If a community wants something or doesn't want something collectively, well, then they'll take action on it. Outside of that, no way. So you're not calling anybody to complain about it.
Prices are ridiculously more expensive than here comparatively, right? Here we're blessed. Also kind of take it for granted living here.
So the ingenious, nature of people here and how good how much skill there is. Skilled, just people are great with their hands.
So then it kind of normalizes that into the culture. And hey, if our political elites, quote unquote, this is how they do it, that's how we need to do it. That's how we should do it. Whether it's a conscious decision to do that or not. But that kind of permeates through the culture.
I thought it was amazing how people here will mix cement with a shovel on the ground. The phenomenon kind of linked to that is it seems like people always want to think of where they're from as being better than the next place.
This social media era where it's not even just organic stuff. It's propaganda. It's government manipulation. It's corporate intentional messaging and control, and so you're seeing all that happening, and that's what's getting consumed, and you're seeing societies and communities change. Some people will call it gentrification.
It comes to labor costs. So it's like because labor here is much less expensive than it is to buy X, Y, or Z that's manufactured. You're making those decisions very differently. That's kind of the underbelly, really, to the culture here.
There is a culture of NVIDIA.
Violence at one point.
The irony is how freaking racist that actually is, because Ecuadorians are just too poor to want to move and have a second home.
The reality is there are a lot of, middle, upper class Ecuadorians that travel back and forth to the U.S. that are very familiar with U.S. culture, and they're the ones kind of trying to implement some of these things here.
To have successful here in any aspect of your life a little bit, right? And so to figure those things out.
They started high school. They start at 7 a.m. and are done by 12:30.
I want this place to have the right kind of people here. Hello and welcome back to the Ecuador Insider podcast. Jesse, Brandon. No, that's not Brandon. That was the wrong.
Yeah.
I got confused. Jesse, Brandon, Carl.
You want to start again?
No. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. If you enjoy this content, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, hit the like button, comment. Talk to Brandon in the comments. Brandon wants to talk to you in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know the good, the bad, the ugly, what you agree with, what you don't agree with, what you'd like to see us cover, etc. We'd love to hear from you in the comment section. Carl is back after a 2-week absence.
I
think you were...
He was gallivanting the globe.
I gallivanted the globe a bit, yeah.
Strippers convention you were at, wasn't it?
Well, it's great to be back, first of all. Ecuador is a great, beautiful place. It felt good to drive into the valley and just, see the beauty that we have here.
Did it feel good to be back for real?
Oh, yeah, of course. No, definitely. The U.S. is a wild place, really. I was in the U.S. Well, I had a layover in Miami, but flew into L.A. And spent a couple of weeks, 10 days, just around 8 days, 10 days with the travels in Riverside, California. So spent a bit of time in California. Beautiful place, actually. It's also, nice countryside, beautiful mountains and whatnot.
Was that your first time?
First time spending time in Cali, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I had layovers there and stuff, but I never actually went through California. So, yeah, I had a great time, yeah.
Exciting.
So, Carl, while in Riverside, California, what were you just sightseeing? Were you touring? Were you vacationing? Did you have the family?
I actually traveled alone.
Okay.
I had some friends who actually used to live here in Vilcabamba.
Yeah, Josh, right? Josh and Crystal?
Yes, shout out to Josh and Crystal and their son Zion. They live there in Riverside, California, and they were getting baptized. They were getting baptized into the Orthodox Church on Holy Saturday, so it was Holy Week, which the Catholics and the West celebrate Pascha or Easter at a different time than the Eastern Orthodox. So Holy Week was in May this year for the Eastern Orthodox. And at that church, they go through a catechumen process. And on Holy Saturday, they get baptized right before the Paschal service, which is like a midnight service. There were lots of people. It was a really, really beautiful ceremony. And, I was there just, visiting them. They let me stay at their place and got to go to a lot of services with them. And meet some people there, and it was very special, actually, very special. I'll definitely recommend it if you're ever in Riverside, California. St. Andrew's Orthodox Church with Father Josiah Trenum from Patristic Nectar, who is kind of become a celebrity priest in a way. He's a voice for Orthodoxy in the U.S. anyways, has some very good material. So they're actually there.
Are they newly Orthodox or?
Yeah, so they were interested in the Orthodox Church for a while, but at their particular parish there, at their church, they require 1-year catechism to be accepted and received into the church.
Yeah.
So not all churches do that, but they basically had to like study and learn the faith and all that stuff and commit to it. And there was a beautiful ceremony where they made some statements, declarations, renounced certain things, got baptized, then received a white garment with a cross, and it was just a very, very special thing. Very
I saw
thing.
in your status you have a picture with Josh.
Yes, I had. That's right.
Nice.
Josh
Yeah,
and his
it looked
son.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. So
Cool.
that was a great time, actually. Really enjoyed it.
So was it a one day? Is this like an extended thing for that, or was there a reason you stayed longer, or just hanging out? Or?
Yeah, so it's Holy Week, right?
you
So,
stayed for the
it's
whole
like
week, yeah.
Well, I arrived on Wednesday, and left on Tuesday of the next week, and plus all the travel time. I was gone for 10 days. But so every day there's different services. It's very there's a lot happens there, and that's why I was there for that whole time.
So you enjoyed it.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Any takeaways in terms of been in the States, come back to Ecuador, all those differences, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, there's a few things that came to mind. I mean, first I flew into Miami, arrived there at 11 p.m. and contacted a friend that I knew lived around there in Miami. And I had a flight at 7 a.m. or 6 or 7 a.m. the next day. So I thought, rather than sleeping in the airport, maybe I'll just go find a hotel or something around and get back so I could get a good night's sleep. Because I was thinking, to save money, I could just sleep in the airport. I've done it before, but it's just very uncomfortable. So I contact the guy, and I'm like, do you recommend any place? Like, what would you do if you were in my position? Like, you live in Miami, you know the area. And then the first thing he says, I wouldn't go out at night in Miami. It's dangerous. And I'm like, really? That's crazy. Like, I didn't think. And he's like, no, you're better off staying in the airport. So anyways, I slept in the airport, flew into LA. Then to get to Riverside, Joshua wasn't available to pick me up at the airport. So I got to Pomona, which is a station. I had to take a couple of buses from the airport. And with the first bus station I stopped, there's security guards, and I'm asking them how to get to the next bus. And I'm like, how do I get to this spot? And he's like, why are you going there? You have he's like, you got to take another bus from there. I'm like, no, a friend is picking me up. He's like, oh yeah, be careful. There's a lot of drug addicts around there. He was like kind of scaring me away and it's true actually, that bus stop right there, there were a lot of homeless people and stuff, but I was kind of like, people were warning me about, security and safety stuff. Like these places were dangerous. And I was kind of surprised, I would think people would say that in like, you're going to Ecuador, oh, careful, that's really dangerous. But I was there in the US and Americans were telling me how dangerous it was there, So that was interesting to see that. And yeah, I mean, of course, the US is super developed, large highways, lots of wealth. I mean, lots of cars. And compared to Ecuador, we have 2-lane roads most places, over there you have large highways and
especially
whatnot.
LA.
Yeah. LA is huge, and anywhere and everywhere around there as well. But overall, yeah, we went to some national parks, we hiked some mountains and stuff, so I got to spend a little bit of time in nature and beautiful countryside. Another thing that stood out is the haziness and the smog just in the environment. Like it would never look like this, basically. You'd always have like this kind of hazy stuff in the background. You can't really see the next mountain range because there's this haze. Something that we take for granted here, but over there, there's definitely a lot more pollution.
How are the national parks like? From were there a lot of people there? Were they pretty desolate, or how?
Yeah, I mean, we went to Mount Rubido, something like that.
Right.
It's a mountain. I mean, it's a national. Yeah, it's owned by the government, but there were a lot of people. Yeah, it was a nice drivable trail almost. You couldn't drive a vehicle there, but people were riding their bicycles and rollerblades and stuff.
So it's paved.
Yeah, it was all paved all the way up to the top of the mountain with so a lot of people were jogging and stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's just outside the city or almost like in the city. So, very well maintained. Yeah, that was nice for sure.
Do you know elevation wise, what was it? Do you remember?
It's a good question. No, I don't. I can tell you that some of the mountains you looked at in the horizon had snow caps on them. So it was definitely a little colder and higher altitude, higher elevation.
Cool.
Yeah.
where you were hiking, were you like in t-shirt and shorts, or were
Oh
you?
yeah, it was
It
hot.
was warm. Okay.
Yeah, and actually that's another thing. It was well, it's really hot right now, but like over there during the day it was really hot, but then at night it got cold. Like it was colder than it ever is here. Honestly, I felt
Wow.
cold like in the morning and at night. I
Hmm.
actually felt cold even though we're in May. Plus everyone's got air conditioning, like AC is on everywhere.
Oh,
So, like,
during
it
the
felt-
day, the air's on already in May.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
Wow.
everywhere you go, the air is on. Yeah, but I felt cold. Like actually, I don't know. Like here, it never gets cold enough to feel cold for me. But over there, I actually felt a little bit cold. So interesting.
Cool. What about food? Did you guys go out to eat at all, or did you guys eat at home, or?
Yeah, we went out to eat a bit for sure. Prices are ridiculously more expensive than here comparatively, right? Here we're blessed. We also kind of take it for granted living here, but yeah, over there with inflation, we went to a burger joint, $18 for hamburger and fries. And that was a nice burger, but
Sure.
a little pricey. And then yeah, same thing. Supermarkets and stuff fruits and vegetables are just ridiculously expensive and not organic typically. If you want to buy organic stuff, you're paying a lot more for it. I think we were looking at ground beef. It was like $13-14 a pound. Here we get it for $2.50 a pound maybe for ground beef, which is grass fed from the area. Yeah.
Right.
How about you guys? What'd you do in my absence?
Partied. We just partied.
Partied hard?
Yeah. Well, Brandon was doing a little partying.
I did.
In Los Wilcos, actually.
Yeah. Los Wilcos. Yeah. What is it? It's I forget the saint they celebrate for. Is Cisne a saint?
La
Catholic
Virgen
saint?
del Cisne. It's there's allegedly an apparition of the Virgin Mary in El Cisne, and so
Oh, right.
La Virgen del Cisne.
Right. That's
Typically,
what they're celebrating. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's been like a 10-day
Oh yeah. So
10
that's
day
probably
event.
like the patron saint of their
Of Los
neighborhood or
Wilcos.
something.
See.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which like once a year they do this pilgrimage here.
Mhm.
It's multiple days, and they carry a statue of the Virgin Mary.
When is that? We should go check that out when it comes. I'd be interested to see, because I think I've read like that it's a big deal. Like people travel.
Hundreds of thousands of people
Right.
are walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should go. That'd be interesting to
Yeah,
see.
they walk from San Pedro de la Bendita, I think.
I think they start in El
Or in El
Tambo or El
Cisne,
Cisne,
yeah.
right? Which is right by El Tambo, that general area.
Oh,
La,
is it?
La Toma.
It's not
El
further
Cisne.
out by like San Pedro de la Bendita. I thought it was out there somewhere. I could be wrong.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, but it's a good
And where do
way.
they travel to?
To Loja?
Yeah, they walk to Loja, and then do they continue or they just turn? I think that's it. I think it's like maybe Plaza San Sebastian, maybe.
They go down the town square.
That's yeah.
And actually, I think they carry the Virgin Mary, and then they leave her there in Loja for a certain amount of time, and then they'll take her back.
Yeah,
Right? Like there's
I
something
think
like
that's right.
Okay.
that. One year during COVID, they shut it down. Right? They couldn't. It didn't happen. But they had a helicopter carrier.
No
So everyone
kidding.
knew. People were outside. Like everyone wanted to look at the helicopter carrying
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
the statue there.
Yeah. So that was they had events. They had like sporting events and community and music and bingo night and different bands and different DJs
Yeah.
on different nights.
Let's
and-
just set this up real quick. So
Yeah.
pretty much all of the neighborhoods have these times where it's like their time.
Yeah, like the
to-
heads of the neighborhoods, they coordinate ahead of time so that they lay out. They actually plan something to not overlap, so that they plan that. All right, it's Los Wilcos. This is their time, and then it goes to Ishkailuma or. the
And they
different
also have
barrios.
that too by town. Like you'll have like Las Fiestas de Vilcabamba, Las
Mhm.
Fiestas de Malacatos.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly the rhyme or reason. Obviously, Los Wilcos is around the saint and that
No,
sort of thing.
I think
but-
that's all of them. So like this
They're
is
all around there.
what's the definition of novenas? I don't.
9 days
Oh, that's it.
novena. Yeah.
Oh, there's something they called them novenas for each one, and it's where
Right.
each barrio or town has their holy celebration. So like Vilcabamba does like the Sacred Heart of Jesus.
Yes.
Right.
Malacatos does something else. Ishkailuma does something else. Like all the different barrios and then village pueblos as well do their
So-
They're novenas. Yeah.
novenas.
So Los Wilcos is sort of like, I don't know. It's interesting. I actually lived in Los Wilcos twice. I lived there originally when I was in Vilcabamba, right, like 11 years ago, and then again when I first moved back to Vilcabamba. And it's sort of, I don't know how you describe it. It's like the only neighborhood really like that's in town that's a neighborhood actually kind of. Like
Right.
it's like pretty much there's only locals that live there. It's very small, but it's as compact as you're gonna get like in Vilcabamba. And it's sort of like I don't know, it would be the equivalent, you know, in New York of like I don't know, the South Bronx or something, or like, you know, or like some neighborhood in Brooklyn that's like, this is Brooklyn for real type of thing, right? It's like kind of like, you know, the neighborhood of the people or something, you know, it's like that kind of neighborhood. And right. So anyways, I just wanted to set that up. So.
Yeah, and real quick, my understanding, because there's another like, they're trying to do this development right below Mandango, Praderas del Mandango. I don't know if you've ever been up there.
Yeah.
There's all these tiny lots, but it hasn't been approved, and
Right.
it's
For
been
years,
10 plus years that they haven't been able to get it set up. But apparently, according to the group that's trying to do that, and most people in Vilcabamba own a little lot there, the 200 square meters. So people put in like $1,000 or whatever at the
You
time.
don't mean most people in Vilcabamba.
Like most locals in Vilcabamba, most people from town. Well, there's 260 lots, I think. So 260 families own lots there.
Okay.
Like our landlord and his brothers, they all own a lot up there. And you know, some of that, like our Jaras, the Jara family and whatnot. But anyways, the point is Los Wilcos was the same thing. A bunch of Vilcabamba people got together to do this Los Wilco neighborhood many years back, and they did the same thing. They all split it up in smaller lots, and everyone got their little lot eventually when it was approved. So anyways, it wasn't part of Vilcabamba. I mean, it wasn't.
Right.
It didn't exist basically.
Yeah,
it was
that
just,
was all in like Julio Aldian's family.
okay.
All that land.
Right.
They I think donated it basically for that purpose.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it sounds like that. It's been there for a while.
Been there a long
30,
time.
40 plus years, right? 30. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, way before I got here. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, when I got here 11 years ago, there was plenty of houses that had been there a very long time.
We have a few listings for sale around there. We have a house actually, a nice.
There's some
75,000 or something.
Yeah, there's some nice newer ones.
Yeah.
There are some remodeled ones that I've seen recently. Yeah.
Nice views.
So you basically, you know, you're friends with a family that has connections there. Some of the family members live there.
Yeah. Yep.
And so you've been hanging out.
We've been hanging out. Yeah. So we've been hanging out, and then there's stuff, you know, like the new Conchi dance, the traditional dancers. They'll go around to all these different novenas, and they do the traditional dance there. So Bella was in that. So they were invited to Los Wilcos one night. So that was like one of the nights. There's all the different dance groups. So we were there for that, and you know, then they have different musicians, and you know, it's just like the whole town comes together, like the whole town. And it finished on Sunday, and we were there Sunday. Carl gave a little speech.
Viva Los Wilcos.
Viva Los Wilcos. They all clapped, man. They all clapped.
At first, like I spoke for like a minute, just thanking them, and you know, trying to say like thank you for inviting us as foreigners and all that stuff. And nobody would like people didn't really say much. And then I was like, Viva Los Wilcos, and everyone responds, starts clapping.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what you have to do here.
Yeah.
To get a reaction.
That was also the 10th day, and like or the 9th day, or it was that the 9th day. So it was, and every one of these days, a lot of the folks are drinking Pilsner and Punta, and so it's really a 9-day party, and it goes until almost 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Every night.
Yeah, I've been listening to them rock out.
Yeah. So, and where we are across the valley, it just echoes right off the other side. So it feels like you can feel the bass. You can feel it.
Yeah. And those are like those things, right, that people need to consider if they're moving here.
Yeah.
When it comes to like where they want to live.
Right.
Like, you know, because you're not gonna, you know, one of the things I love about this country is basically anything goes. And the only way that you're going to have something change would be if there's consensus on it, right? So like if a community wants something or doesn't want something collectively, well, then they'll take action on it. Yeah. Outside of that, no way. Yeah. So
you're not calling the police.
You're not calling
to make
anybody
a noise
to complain
violation.
about noise. And if you do, you're really a donkey.
Right,
like,
and especially
you know,
like something like this. Like everybody knows it's happening. It happens. It's not like they party every night of the. You know, it's for this particular event. It's 9 or 10.
But
9 days.
if you're noise sensitive, which I'm not at all, but
Yeah.
like if you're noise sensitive and you're living anywhere near town, it's gonna
Well,
drive you crazy.
It's interesting though, because Diego's family lives below the Concha. So, and we were at his house, you can't even hear it. So it's just the way the sound travels.
But you'll hear it, you'll hear it there when they're doing it in another place.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Or
You gotta
during the
be-
holidays, or during you can't if you're wanting like peace and quiet, you really can't.
You can't be
live
this close to town. Right.
Yeah.
Not if you want it every day. Like it's mostly quiet.
Yeah, it's mostly quiet.
It's just again those few. It's the celebration. It's Carnival.
Yes.
So it's a couple times a year, 2 or 3 times a year.
The holidays for sure.
The holidays, yeah.
And then there's the occasional weekend, little
Blowout.
Yeah.
I mean,
party and stuff.
Descanso del Toro has been rocking
have
out
weddings
on the
sometimes there, yeah.
weekends.
Oh no kidding.
Yeah. Till like late, till like 3, 4, 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it's weird though, because it has to do with the
Yeah.
where you are in the mountains, where you are. Like even when I lived in San Francisco, on the other side of town, when they were rocking in Town Square, it must have just got a little bit lower that the noise traveled above us, and it didn't even bother. We didn't even hear it most of the time. So. Yeah.
So is this like a style thing for the basketball game you're about to play, or are you
What's
just
that?
protecting the tattoo?
Oh, it was sunny, man. I need to protect. I got the farmer's tan, and it's fine, but it looks even more ridiculous with the tattoo.
Yeah.
So I need to even that.
Great. I'm
even
like
that
really
out.
enjoying this. You
But-
see the taxi drivers
Yes.
wearing
Yeah,
this
That's where I got
on
it,
their
yeah.
arm that they, that's on the window
yeah,
side.
That's on the left side.
Yeah.
It's a
So
taxi
you're-
driver
so
trend.
you're truly acculturating.
Right. I mean, I got a white pickup truck. I drive the.
You're in
Come
Los
on.
Ricos drinking Pilsner.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, I got fed Pilsner. Like it was water yesterday.
Which
Was
is
that yesterday?
Which
Or
is
no,
just,
Sunday.
It's undrinkable for me. Like, and I'm sorry for all of you I'm going to offend, but gosh, I can't. It's like, for me, it's like Budweiser. It's just, I can't do it.
Pilsner here is the people's beer.
It is the people's
It is
beer.
definitely the people's
Yep.
And Klub, I mean, might be 50 cents more or something, right?
Well,
Oh, is it
It's
more?
al- it's
Is
also
Club
like
more expensive?
10,
I don't even
Slightly,
know.
but slightly.
Yeah, it's
very
like maybe
little,
10, 20 cents.
Yeah.
So,
Is there
It's
more
also the
alcohol?
people's beer.
Is there more
No.
alcohol in
No.
either one?
No,
I don't know
About
enough
equal.
about it.
No.
Yeah.
Klub is tastier in my opinion.
it just tastes better. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
agree.
more mild.
it's not
more
a high
light,
quality
so-
beer, but it's drinkable.
Now that an Ecuadorian man who lives in Miami was telling me that people pay high money for
Clue.
for Klub in
Yeah,
Miami.
yeah.
Ecuadorians, expats
Right.
or whatever, they're like, I want my Klub, and
Well,
it's
when
like
I
a
was,
special
I
beer
went to a
there.
buddy's bachelor party in Miami, and this was a few years ago. But Club was an import.
Yeah.
It was like a premium.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't.
exactly.
And
Hey, let's try this Ecuadorian beer.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, but it was fun, man. It was the whole community comes out. That's what I was talking to Diego, and he said that a lot of times, outside of the festivals, a lot of the locals in Los Wilcos, they do their own thing. Nobody's in anybody else's business. They're friends, but they're kind of just doing their own thing, doing their life. That's it. They have their close group. But then he said when these events happen and there's hundreds of them and they all come out and they're all happy and they're all getting along and the families are all there, and he said it's really special because it's like the few times a year where the whole community comes together and has a great time and celebrates.
No, I mean, like half the people we're friends with like live in Los Wilcos.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of neighborhood in
Yeah.
terms of the locals. I mean,
Yeah.
like it's like a lot of the people you're friends with and that will live there.
There was a few big names there. We had Chino from Chino's Bikes.
Chino's Bikes lives
who-
there, yeah.
Who actually has a very famous, successful Facebook page with
Yeah.
400,000 subscribers or something.
Yeah.
He makes videos. If you want to check it out, Chino's Bikes. There was also Chemico, Chemico, the mechanics, bulldozer, retro excavadora. He's got, everyone knows Chemico. If you ever hire a backhoe, you call Chemico. He was over there as well, and a few others.
Big shots.
No, but
around,
it's when I go to an event like that, I try to find familiar faces or people I know, and there's always people and I didn't know they lived there, But yeah.
Yeah, we know a ton of families in there for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I actually, how's your jacuzzi coming along?
It's good, man. It's coming along. It's really when I saw the pictures of what it's going to, what it would be,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just assumed it would be a kit,
Right.
that it would be molds and kit and it would be like that. And seeing the 3 weeks or whatever they've been working on it, it is everything is custom, custom measure, custom level, no kits. They're building the forms from scratch. They're doing all the leveling, all the concrete work, everything, the sizing, it's really impressive to see how talented they are, right? And how methodical, and it's real. In just 3 weeks, it's come together with they're doing the exposed aggregate stone around the tub, and they're building the exposed aggregate into the stairs and into the little side walls, and it's awesome to see. Because at first I'm like, at first I was like, I told Tiff, I'm like, I think they're building the forms. They're like doing this, and maybe that's how it's always done. I don't know, but I've never seen it. I just expected something different.
Yeah,
I expected
like
it
a
to
Home
be
Depot, mold,
right.
tub,
Right. It's kind of yeah.
Which those exist as well
Oh, of
for
course.
like a bathtub or a jacuzzi. But
but
this is all concrete basically.
It's all
with stones.
Yeah.
And tiles inside.
Yeah, they're tiling. They're doing some of the tile work today. It's really, really cool to see. Like, we've gone down and talked to the guys, and they're out there with their levels and plumb, and they're really thorough. And it's like 2 guys typically every day, 8 hours a day, and they go out there and they're manually moving everything, stone and sand and concrete, and everything is manual and wheelbarrow and hand mixed, and it's really impressive, really. And like the cost would be, it's a fraction of the cost of labor and materials to do this. This would be a $30,000 jacuzzi, and work in the States, and it's $8,000 here.
Yeah. Nice. And you get to enjoy it.
Yeah, soon. Another week or two.
Awesome.
Hopefully it'll be done, and we'll have to. Maybe we can do a podcast from it.
In the jacuzzi.
In the jacuzzi.
That's a great idea.
An hour later of heat, we're sitting in there trying to continue the conversation. No, but it's a great illustration of the ingenious, nature of people here, and how good how much skill there is. Skilled, just people are great with their hands. They know how to do this stuff. They're used to doing it with their hands, as opposed to with the machines and the this and that and all the sort of bells and whistles we have in construction back home. And also the difference in calculations when it comes to labor costs. So it's like you're because labor here is much less expensive than it is to buy X, Y, or Z that's manufactured, and you're making those decisions very differently, or those calculations, I should say, are very different. If something takes a ton of labor, but you don't have to buy all kinds of manufactured stuff to do it, that's going to very likely be the less expensive option,
right?
Which then means you can do really high quality, and you can customize, and it's just kind of the way things are here.
And if the labor is skilled in doing some of these processes manually, then you're not renting the machines, and you're not paying for all that either. Like, they're not, some of this stuff they could have rented machines to make it. So you're trading the cost of renting and operating a machine for the time for them to do it manually by hand.
So are they mixing the cement by hand?
Yeah.
There's no cement mixer?
No, they had a little one for it when they did the outer base. There was like a big large amount of concrete they needed, and they brought this little cement mixer on a wheel. It was kind of like on the back of a truck. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And they used that for that day, but that's the only machinery that they've used.
Yeah. It's I thought it was amazing how people here will mix cement with a shovel on the ground,
Yep.
Now people might watch this and be like, well, it's not perfect and the right consistency, and it's not being tested.
Well, that's true.
But it's true.
That's why you get the cosmetic cracks, and you get sometimes you get a little bit of not proper moisture retention.
Sure.
Because of that.
Yeah, but typically that would be for a smaller project. When they're building a house, they'll have a concrete mixer.
Yeah.
There's even big concrete trucks that will come if you're building something very big.
Yep. And you could see, so we had stairs put in down to the, down to the like the soccer field part, and then there's stairs, and we had the caretaker build those stairs, and then the stairs that these guys did, the concrete, and the guy for those stairs, he mixed it on the ground in a, and you could just see the quality of the concrete it's dramatically different, and so you can see that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool. It's cool, man.
Yeah, nice. That's
I'm
awesome.
excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's putting like this waterfall feature. He's putting a shower. He's doing like this exposed aggregate tiered thing down under the bridge, and then having a shower there. So he's like, all right, well, you can shower here and then walk over here, and it's looking good.
We get a lot of questions about fishing.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people. It's like fishing and golf.
we do get a lot of those.
Are the things that people are passionate about and want if you're into that stuff.
Mhm.
It's if you're into fishing, like you care about it a lot.
Mhm.
If you're into golf, you care about it a lot. Unfortunately, in this region to date, we can't offer golf, but fishing, I know there is because I have friends that fish, but I had never fished.
Mhm.
I had these fishing poles for a long time, and my son was asking me about it. So the other day, I'm like, all right, let's go fishing and see
Awesome.
what we can do. So I had heard that in the river that runs through Kinara, there's maybe 7 different kinds of fish in there. I have a friend that fly fishes in there. Actually, Daniel Gordon's father down in like
over there?
or wherever that.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
He does a lot of fly fishing in that river.
Do you remember what kinds of fish?
I don't.
Right in that river, though. I think there's some like quebradas that come up. Bob and his family go up there.
Yeah, they go and get trout up in those quebradas.
Yes.
I know, and
But-
he caught some big fish. I saw.
Yeah,
Some
cool.
big trout.
What did you catch?
Well, so we went to that spot. You might have been there before. And you know that spot in Tumianuma, it's like just before you get to town, there's a little footbridge and there's sort of like an eddy where you can actually swim. Like it's deep. You can dive in and swim. You ever been
Really?
to that spot?
I mean, that bridge that's kind of crooked.
Is it crooked? I'm not sure if it's
The
crooked.
one that looks like a DNA
No,
strand.
I'm saying before you get to Tumianuma, the back way. I
Before.
don't mean like the Kinara side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before there's
Like
a little
between
area.
Guatuche and Tumianuma.
But it's a spot deep enough you can dive.
Yeah, you could dive
Wow.
in and swim. It's fun. It's a cool spot. I like to go there.
It's not where you got your property over there.
no
bridge?
It's no
Past that.
past that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So, anyways, we went there, and so I put on one of those gold flat, lures that they're like those gold metal lures that
Like
my
a
son
spoon,
probably
spinner.
You've
It kind of
seen my-
spins. It's like a
like you reel it and it
Yeah.
Seeing my expertise here
Yeah.
on display. It's funny because I love fishing, but I was like the guy that didn't know how to, you give the pole to and I fish. That's my level of fishing.
Get it off! I don't want to touch it.
And my son was using like a fake worm lure.
Would you touch that?
Only if you're there to hold my hand. Anyways, and so we did not catch a fish, but we got a number of bites, and I had a fish out of the water that was on the line that flipped off.
So you didn't set the hook.
So I can confirm that there are fish
Nice.
in that river for sure. We had like quite a few nibbles and bites,
Okay.
and had one on the line. I think, yeah.
Where you were
Cool.
fishing? Do you remember how deep it was? Where you were fishing?
I mean, it's
Did it?
that river, like it's not super deep anywhere on that river. Like where we were at is definitely a deeper spot. It's like an eddy. It's like
Oh, you were fishing in the
We were
eddy.
kind of
Oh,
yes and no. Mostly no, but we also tried in there just to
Okay.
see. With fishing, you just kind of like see what works and you try different spots and
Sure.
all that kind of stuff.
so
But
could you see the bottom?
you can see the bottom.
It's clear.
Not in like. It depends. Like if you were standing high enough, you would see the bottom. In most places,
Okay.
there would be definitely an area that's too deep to see the bottom for sure. So yeah, it was
Cool.
fun, but
Awesome.
yeah, my son had a blast. He really wants to catch one.
Yeah.
But it was good that we could at least confirm
There were
that
fish
it's
there.
doable.
Cool.
There
Right.
was a fish on the line. We all saw it.
Nice. There's a few
Yeah.
spots like Pesca Deportiva all
Right,
over, right?
sure.
You see signs. I've never been, but that's like an artificial lake type of thing, and there's they seed fish and you can fish them.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. But you still, I think there's fly fishing and stuff. We'll have to
Yeah,
go check it out.
Daniel's father fly fishes. So
Okay.
that's how he does it. I
Nice.
don't know how to fly fish, but
I don't know how to fly. My uncle used to make his own flies and was a
that's
big
cool.
fly fisherman, a couple of them for a long time.
And then it's worth mentioning, just around our region here, there's 3 trout restaurants that have trout ponds, and you can go and fish your own fish before you eat it. Now it's you know, it's not
farmed.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Also, like you just throw and you basically catch something.
Yeah, I mean, fishing
in
is
1
a
second.
generous word for that
Well, if you're, you
particular
know,
activity.
for a little kid, if they've never done it, like, you know,
Yeah,
it'd be
yeah.
a nice
my
first
son
experience.
loved it. My son loved it when he was,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. So that was cool. I wanted to read a couple of comments here from the last pod, that I appreciated. So Alejandro Montalvo says, "You are totally on the money regarding Ecuadorian culture. I was born in Guayaquil in 1949 to Ecuadorian parents going back many generations. Mother a Guayaquileña from the coast, father from Riobamba, Guano in the Sierra Andes. Dad was an executive for the railroad, and we lived on the second floor of the railroad building where I was born via a midwife. It was Doran. I returned to Ecuador in 2020 after retiring in the USA, where I'm a naturalized citizen. I live in Quito now at 74 and enjoy your channel. I guess I am a repat."
Nice.
I love that.
Nice.
Yeah, and I just appreciate from the local, confirmation, right, of just kind of how we view the culture here.
We got a couple of those.
Yeah.
Recently, yeah.
So that was awesome. Thank you, Alejandro. And Rose Zaz says, "Loved the extemporaneous conversation. Lots of gems. Enjoyed the part about some expats in Vilcabamba having confirmation bias about their experience, which can be a precursor to manufacturing consent, which is the antithesis of we create our own reality. Mahalo for another fun and informative show."
Thank you, Rose.
We appreciate that, Rose. And I really agree. There's just, even Carl, kind of what you were saying earlier, right? Like, you can't go out at night in Miami. Like, what are you talking? Like, I don't mean what you're talking about. I just mean like whoever feels that way for me is like, what are you talking about? That seems like the same kind of person here that would be telling people like, oh, it's really dangerous. Watch out for this, watch out for that. It's like,
tons of people go out in Miami.
It's like one of the go out capitals of the world.
Right. I mean, it doesn't.
And it is it is a city that has a lot of gun violence, but I mean, it's not like.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even, like, the party doesn't even start Miami till like 2.
2, right?
Yeah, I mean, people in LA told me the same. They're like, always lock your car doors, don't stop.
No, yeah, for sure.
I mean, I didn't realize that there was that much crime actually there, where people are actually worried and concerned about it.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because when you said that, it reminded me of when I first touched down in Quito, Ecuador, and never having visited here. Like, my move was, in my move, I should say. So I get here with Darnell, a friend of mine, and we touch down in Quito, and everywhere we're going, like, everyone is just warning us about the next place we're going, right? So like when we're in Quito, they're telling us like, oh no, don't go to the coast. It's very dangerous. Watch out. When we're on the coast, they say that about Quito.
Yes, absolutely.
When we're in, and it was just, it reminded me of that. And as we're traveling around these places, realizing like none of these places are dangerous at all.
Yeah.
Like what were they talking about?
Yeah.
It's all just, I guess, your frame of reference and your reference points. It's relative, exactly.
Yeah, and a phenomenon kind of linked to that is it seems like people always want to think of where they're from as being better than the next place.
Big time.
So they tell you how this other place, like even here, people from Malacatos, don't trust them. Or like you go to Quinao and they're like, the people in Tumianuma, there's a lot of thieves there. Don't go to Tumianuma. Like, it's funny.
No, that's kind of the underbelly really to the culture here, is those kinds of things. People will, a builder will crap all over another builder.
Right.
And like any builder you call to look at something, anyone else's work could be like, oh, no, that's no good. That's not how that's supposed to be. That's all messed up. That's not going to last. And unfortunately, you'll have foreigners who don't understand that that's just kind of how people rock here, and they'll believe them. And so then they're all angry about it. Mm-hmm. Oh, this guy ripped me off because this other guy said this is not right and this is bad, and it's not supposed to be like that. But it's not really.
There is a culture of envidia.
Yeah, exactly.
Part of
envidia, exactly.
You even have like bumper stickers. Envy, yeah. I don't know if you've seen those bumper stickers where it says like "No me envíes" or something, like "Don't envy me" or something.
Yeah.
Like I've seen those quite a bit.
I've seen those quite a bit as well. No, that really is kind of the underbelly of the culture. It's that sort of little like, you know, I don't know. It's. I think crabs in the bucket is not the right term actually, but it's like, it's just this sort of. I don't know how do. I mean, I guess we did describe it, but yeah, I don't know how to really expound on that. But that's definitely a thing for sure.
Yeah, and I think maybe like for example here, I mean we have this is our frame of reference, Vilcabamba. At some point in time, my understanding is there were like 3 or 4 families that were the wealthy owners, and then everyone else was like the working class, the farmers and stuff, and everyone was living very humbly and with low means. And then since tourism and businesses grew, some people probably stayed at that same social class, and then they saw others going up the ranks and like being successful. So then some kind of jealousy could arise from that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as common in the U.S. culture. It seems like
No,
people
it
are more.
exists though, but it certainly exists, but no, not as common. Definitely not as common. Yeah, and that's even different by area in the States. I noticed too. Like I've noticed, in New York, the mentality is very much like you celebrate other people's success and their wins, and that's the sort of the mentality of the city. But I've noticed in other cities and places that I've gone to or lived, it's not like that at all. People are like, it is like crabs in the bucket. It's very much like, oh, he's up there, let's knock him down, type of thing. Which I was not used to, but I wouldn't say it's like that here, in that way.
Right. Yeah, I think that the crabs in the bucket is really changing a lot of places in the West and the United States, because you're seeing that exemplified on a grand scale with politics. Right. I mean, they're showing you that that's the way you play game. That's how you win. This is what success looks like. It's really just not. It's not. Propping yourself up anymore alone in politics. It's tearing down, and maybe it always was to some extent, but it seems like that's the game. That's like the first rule of the game is tear down your opponent first, destroy, and then everybody's, and because that's kind of become this default, entertainment for you again, that's going to trigger some folks I know, because there are real consequences to political decisions, but it is entertainment in the way it's consumed and it's produced and manufactured and broadcast, and
they
social
call it political
media
theater.
Right, kabuki theater, right.
Yeah.
And so the fact that's where everybody sees at every age, kids, middle age, adults, seniors, they all see that as happening. So then it kind of normalizes that into the culture. And hey, if our political elites, quote unquote, this is how they do it, that's how we need to do it. That's how we should do it. Whether it's a conscious decision to do that or not, but that kind of permeates through the culture. And then you see neighborhoods that, subtly start to change in that. Maybe New York isn't quite like that anymore. Maybe it's not the same as it was 10 years ago.
That could be. And it's actually more than 10 years now.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, it's when you see, the social media impact on society, it's a double-edged sword, man. It's that, obviously we rely on a lot of this technology. We are on our phones with WhatsApp, talking to clients and retreat participants and YouTube and all this and social media to share our message. And there's a dark side to that as well. And how that impacts cultures, how the media as a whole impacts cultures. And that kind of goes back to a few episodes when we talked about gentrification, and people are saying, well, we're seeing tip jars in Vilcabamba, and that's a result of gentrification, and that's this and that. And then, I was just in Malacatos, and there's no gringos anywhere to be seen. I'm seeing tip jars there. So it got me thinking about, well, how is it truly gentrification because gringos migrated here that's happening there? Is it something else, right? And it got me thinking about social media. Everybody has a cell phone. Everybody has access to social media now. Most people do anyway, or someone in their family does, and they share. So you see, things are changing. So you can see cultures changing much faster, not because back in the day they were influenced by migration of different cultures, right? So when you had expats move into any other community anywhere in the world from somewhere else, that slowly influenced culture over time. If the longer they stayed and didn't just fully immerse and adopt the culture, their cultural norms from their culture as a group started impacting the local culture. And that took time over time. That took long periods of time to really change or gentrify, communities. Now it happens a lot quicker, and it's not necessarily just because a group of people move somewhere. Because this is a perfect example. You have gringos are a small fraction of the population, even in Vilcabamba. And so how much of it is that, and how much of it is everybody has social media, so they're seeing these norms, that's in this social media era where it's not even just organic stuff. It's propaganda, it's government manipulation, it's corporate intentional messaging and control. And so you're seeing all that happening, and that's what's getting consumed, and you're seeing societies and communities change. Some people will call it gentrification. Is that because, five gringos moved into Malacatos? Or is it because other influences on that?
No, it's a great point. And you're seeing that across the board in every aspect of life in the whole country.
Right.
In the time that I've been here, like the change on that front is dramatic. And I would use a term more like it's just, and I would put it in quotes, and I would also question whether it's good or bad, but like, it's just modernization essentially, right, is what we're talking about. It's just like a culture who has a traditional way of doing things, who doesn't fit in with the sort of quote unquote modern world's customs and norms, getting closer to that over time.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're seeing. So, and you're seeing that in all walks of life here. You're seeing it in relationships and labor laws and the types of businesses that are coming about, in the way people relate to life. And you're seeing it even in the legalities in the country. The way, for example, tort law. Like there was essentially no such thing in Ecuador until very recently. Like that stuff's just starting to creep in. At all, right? And it's just a modernization of, right? So people are realizing like, oh, over here they do things this way, and then someone starts doing it, or someone has an idea for a business, or local goes and lives overseas and comes back and opens a business, and and that's just, you're just seeing that everywhere in the country.
I wouldn't even say that it's modern. I would almost I'd almost say it's like the normalization of a popular trend.
Yeah.
Not even modern,
right.
Because some of this stuff is thousands of years old, and but it's just like what's popular and in the mainstream, and what's happening. Because if you think about tort law in the United States, dude, if we don't reform tort law and have people want to change politics, and they want to, make a difference and all that stuff, well, you gotta understand and reform tort law, and you gotta have term limits on your politicians, and then maybe you can start changing politics if through voting people in, maybe.
Sure.
Right. But if you don't reform tort law, and you don't implement term limits, good luck. You're just beating your head against a brick wall forever. So, but most people don't even want to understand that or take the time to understand that. So, again, I don't even know if tort law coming here is modernizing anything.
And again, like for me, most of that stuff's negative. Like I really like the way it was in Loja, for example, 10 years ago, a little bit better than now. Now there is pros and cons, right? So like Loja now has modernized a bit. And so there's more convenience, there's a little more accessibility to certain products and certain conveniences and services that you wouldn't have had 10 years ago. But it's losing also a little bit of that comfortability, that livability, that like human to human, this is the culture, this is how we do, approach life. It's losing a little bit of that. And that's like the trade-off.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's prettier. They did a whole regeneration project, and it's prettier, and the sidewalks look better, and it's more organized, and so on and so forth. The downside of that is they got rid of all the parking. There's more traffic now.
A lot more
There's
traffic,
street lights everywhere. Like before, you had essentially no street lights, hardly any street lights in the city. Everyone just knew if you're going the long way, like up and down, then you have the right of way. If you're crossing the city, there's no stop signs either. Like if you're crossing the city, you have to stop at every intersection. Everyone just knew that. They put in all this traffic lights. It made traffic way worse immediately. There didn't used to be a lot of police in Loja. There's now a lot of police. They didn't used to have the parking cards were only in like a very small area, and it didn't even really matter because there was parking everywhere. Well, now they got rid of a ton of the parking. So now parking is like a thing, and you got to use the parking card. And if you're in certain areas, you got to look for parking. And it's like, so like you can get your pet groomed. Now you can get your pet groomed at like some fancy place, or you can go clothes shopping with a lot larger variety, or you can there's like there's nicer restaurants, there's like a rooftop bar now that's really trendy, and
it's right over by the Bolivar, right?
Yes.
Casa
Mulato.
Bolivar. Teatro Bolivar.
Mulato is the name of the restaurant. Yeah, so it's so it's like modernizing in that way, and it's also losing something at the same time.
And I think a couple good points to make are that's happening in phases, not just Ecuador. That's everywhere in the world. That's happening, and so that's one thing. But number two is that's happening in Loja. How much is that the result of gringo gentrification? Right, exactly, right? I mean,
it has nothing to do with it at all.
Zero,
none.
No, of course. I mean, and the reality is there are a lot of, middle, upper class Ecuadorians that travel back and forth to the U.S. that are very familiar with U.S. culture, and they're the ones kind of trying to implement some of these things here.
Yeah, and it's some of it is just, unfortunately, in my opinion, and without going too far into politics, but it's just sort of like the natural. So it's the natural evolution of politics. So it's like what happens is you get. We had this mayor, for example, who's been a mayor like 3 or 4 times in Loja, who is a fan of control, right? Like very much a fan of control. And so under his leadership, we had all these sort of controls brought into the city that traditionally we didn't have in these areas. Like you have all those back home, you have all the ordinances and all the, we're going to enforce this and we got to do this and it's got to be this way. And if you jaywalk, you get a ticket. And we have all that crap back in the States. It's like what I'm trying to get away from, and still like, I don't want to exaggerate here. Like it's like hundreds of orders of magnitude less.
There's almost none of that.
Almost none, right? But he gave it the college try to and he got a lot of pushback, but he gave it the college try to get a lot of that stuff implemented, and he did some. He did some. Like he had a whole campaign. It was awful. He had a whole campaign against what they call like informal sales, where people who don't have a license to sell stuff just selling stuff, and it's basically usually like indigenous little old ladies selling their agricultural products that they literally grew themselves in Saraguro or Oña or areas like that. They had a whole dispute over that. It was extended. There was there was violence at one point. This was years ago. And he's the one that he kind of bought into. By the way, they did a referendum and got rid of this guy, which was great. But he bought into sort of the UN green city idea, and that's why Loja lost all its parking, and that's why he was trying to make the bike lanes, and there's nothing wrong with bike lanes, but he's trying to make the bike lanes and make it walk. Everyone is supposed to be walking and using bikes, and none of it really caught on at all. None of it really worked, but we lost parking as a result. And
it's a very walkable city.
It's a very walkable.
And actually, I never lived there, so I can't compare it the same way, but I prefer Loja now than it was 10 years ago.
It's better looking.
Yeah, there's sidewalks on everywhere. There's a lot of walking-only streets that didn't exist before. There's the bike lanes as well. All the power lines are now underground, so you don't see all of these power lines everywhere. It actually looks much nicer.
It looks way better. Yeah, the downtown area.
Downtown area, yeah, I'm referring to, And I was gonna say a good example. I think it's right. Isn't it down? No, right behind over there. There's this new development. Where the Seventh-day Adventist Church is on the way to the zoo there. Yeah. Right past there, there's that A-frame house. Yeah. I just drove there yesterday. There's 7, 8 houses that have come up in the last, I don't know, 3-4 months or whatever. And I would venture to say that maybe there's one gringo out of all of these houses. Everybody else is a Lojano building a nice weekend home, right? Yeah. So it's, there's really, even the quote unquote gentrification of Vilcabamba, there are a lot of Lojanos moving to Vilcabamba, a lot of Ecuadorians that are just, either building a weekend home or, moving here actually, probably more so than expats.
And that's kind of
I don't know that I don't know that the ratio of expats to locals has changed at all in the
Right.
in all of my time here.
Yeah, and I would say that a lot of the folks that are, calling us gentrifiers.
Are people doing that? I didn't even.
Yeah, we've had some folks pull that, that we're those guys. Part of it is the irony of it is they're folks that haven't been here and that don't know this place, don't really know us other than what they see on YouTube, and they have these preconceived notions about what Ecuador is and how we're single-handedly changing this.
Right.
And it's the irony is how freaking racist that actually is, because Ecuadorians are just too poor to want to move and have a second home. Like that's
Right.
like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Are you kidding? That's what most of this place is.
Yes.
Most of
This
these
area,
even Vilcabamba,
Right.
yes,
Well,
there's
particularly.
right. I mean, they're building second homes.
Yeah.
Ecuadorians doing that. Not how many gringos do you know that have multiple homes here?
Very few.
The
majority of gringos living here are renting.
Right.
Maybe 50% or something, but a lot of gringos here are
probably a good amount. Yeah, but it's just that the point I just want to make is that folks have these ideas on what their values or what they think a place is without ever being there, and then they just project it, and they and maybe Rose nailed it with the confirmation bias and the just what people think, and it's like it's really not what it is, and I don't know how we share what it really is other than what we're doing. And the people that have something to say about it, go for it.
I mean, it seems to me there's some self-hatred involved as well, because these are of course going to be foreign, usually probably white foreign folks making these kinds of comments. So then if you show up then in some foreign country, you're bringing something bad, because
right.
you exist or something. Like,
right. No, that's
there's
great.
like some self-hatred in that too. It's like
yeah.
it's so, if like if someone comes from one country to another, regardless of where they're from or what country they're from, they're gonna bring a little bit different set of everything, and there's gonna be that interplay between the way things are here and the way this person's coming in and their mindset. And it's going to work for them or not, right? They're going to like feel good about the differences or not. But I'd say for those folks who have those kinds of thoughts and feelings, just stay where you are.
right.
And enjoy your life there, man. Like,
yeah, and I would actually even venture to say that the type of expats that are moving to this area typically are people who are less inclined to want to change this place or want to modernize it or want to bring some of their American ideas. They're people that want to learn from the indigenous culture, eat local, local cuisine, local food, buy organic food, contribute to like the Ecuadorian sort of traditional culture. Whereas some of the Lojanos or some of the middle upper class Ecuadorians, they want to move to the U.S. Like they want to go where we're from. They're like less likely. They would be more likely to change and quote unquote modernize this area than the type of expats that come out here.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, for me, that's really, I was actually having this conversation with a friend yesterday. People think we're a lot more successful than we are. Like, people, which is hilarious. But like, like we like run this little real estate company in this tiny little town in Ecuador.
I think that's the biggest piece. People have this perception that it's this huge place. Yeah. It's a small town, and it's a real estate company in a small town where there's no debt-driven transactions. So the velocity of the market is much, much different than where you're from.
Absolutely.
I'm having this conversation yesterday, and my friend makes some kind of comment to me about like how like chill I am and successful, and he's like, and I'm like, you probably think I'm a lot more successful than I am, but like we're having this conversation, and he was asking me like a little bit about the YouTube channel, and I was like, dude, like, why I actually do the YouTube channel? I'm like, of course it connects to the business and it connects to other things we're doing, but like, why I actually do it is because like I want this place to have the right kind of people here. So I want to be able to share from our perspective, right or wrong, it's our perspective. I want to be able to share like what this place really is, you know, what's actually here, and what's going to make you successful or not being here, and try to attract the kind of people that add to the community, you know, like we don't, because the truth is, like, you don't want jerks here, right? Like, you don't want people who don't respect the local culture, the local customs, don't respect people, get angry because somebody's late, get angry because of this, get angry because of that, and are, you know, basically wishing it was back home, but being here. You don't want that. Like, that's not what you want. You know, you want the folks that have a dream, have some passion, have something they're interested in, are coming for sort of, you know, soul level reasons or life path level reasons or whatever, like, you know, some sort of positive, you know, thing in their life that they want to experience or do, and can appreciate the differences in the way the culture is here and the way the people are here and the way they approach life and how they live, and you know, and can be respectful enough to, like, okay, when you don't understand something, chill out, take a look at it, see what's going on, you know, probably you just not understanding, as opposed to, right, because in general the local culture here is incredible, right? Like, in general, the people here are beautiful. Like, it's beautiful people. You know, it's everybody. There's crooks and criminals, and, you know, and the opposite of that, it's like anywhere else in the world. But just in terms of like the overall culture, it's a beautiful culture.
Absolutely.
Of people who care about one another and take care of one another, and, you know, are very just community based and communally minded, and you know, they like really truly care. Like, they really truly like take care of where they live, take care of their neighbors, friends, family, the whole nine. So, you know, if, like, you know, if you're coming here and you want to be, you know, you want to grow food, or you want to, you know, you have some business idea, or you just want to live a simple, you know, happy life, like, you know, or be closer to nature, whatever it is, you can really do those things here. It's a fantastic place for that, for those kinds of goals. And then if you're open to and willing to, like, learn the language and learn the culture a little bit, and actually integrate, you're going to get a lot out of the sort of life perspective that the local, you know, that people have in this country. Because in my opinion, for the most part, it's very healthy. Like, it's a very healthy perspective that people bring. Like, I've learned a lot, you know, I've learned how to, like, chill out, for example, right? Like, I've learned how to not get all wrapped up in outcomes and, you know, and all like expectations, and or taking things personally. Like, people here don't take things personal. It's like they just don't do it. They give people grace. Like, they give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, someone doesn't show up for something, they're not like, oh, they're not telling themselves some story about how, you know, it's personal to them.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, probably something
better.
probably happened.
You've gotten
like,
better at that lately, because I've been intentionally trying to trigger you
To show up late for a podcast.
Right, well, no, I mean, right. It's like, where I come from, I'm 11 years in this country, and I'm still learning that stuff, right? Like, I don't come from that.
Right.
So it's been, for me, it's been very healthy, right? It's been great. But, like, yeah, so I don't know. It's just,
it reminded me of a cool example I want to share from, you know, we talked about the Los Wilcos, you know, festival and all that. You know, so Carl, you spoke because Chino asked, you know, he asked for donations, right? So Abundant Living, you know, gave a donation. When we were there, Diego came to me, and, you know, when we you know, you showed up and you gave the speech, and Diego said, he came to me and he's like, I didn't want to ask you this. To me, you know, if you get into the culture, it explains, or it exemplifies a little bit of kind of what you were talking about, Jesse. Like, he's like, I know you're part of Abundant Living, and I know, but I didn't want to ask you for a donation because we're friends now.
right.
Like, he's like, I didn't want to do that. He's like, I won't do that. Like, so that was that. He just wanted to make it, because it almost like when you know, you came and he saw like that, and then he was almost like, he didn't want me to be offended.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like
that it's like you're there for that reason or something, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, it was awesome. Yeah. I don't know if I explained that well. But.
No, that's
No,
cool.
totally.
No, that's beautiful. No, it makes me think Chino and I are not friends yet.
Well, that's a little different.
No, but it's true. Like when I always am like mixed about what we should help out with and what we shouldn't, because it does like almost cheapen it a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's something about it that's like, well, you give money for something, it almost like cheapens the interpersonal
Yeah.
or like something about it. So it's like it's still good. Like I like to, help when we can, especially like the soccer team and things like that. Like it's really nice. I really like. I was actually, yesterday, I played some basketball in the morning. Picked up my kids from Eco Club, which is just freaking awesome, by the way. And actually, I'm going to interview her on the channel. I'm also going to do a little special on what she's doing because she needs some more kids for it to really work. And what she's doing with the kids is awesome.
Who's that?
Her name is Catalina, I think. Catalina.
Okay.
Cool. And yeah, so I go pick them up from Eco Club. They're playing music and picking fruits and digging in the dirt and doing all kinds of cool stuff. My kids are 3 and 5, and pick them up and then take them to the river real quick little energetic reset before lunch, and then Jacob's got soccer practice. Jojo, we call him, should take a nap, but the nap was foregone, and I took him to go. I haven't seen probably a soccer practice in a year or so, 6 months, but it was a beautiful day. Jacob wanted me to watch his soccer practice, so I went to watch his soccer practice. Quinn was there with the younger kids doing the soccer.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful day, and my Jojo was with me, and I got to just like lay in the grass on a towel and watch the kids play soccer. All of these activities are within a few minutes of one another. Said hi to the coaches. This is Brandon's good friends at this point. Some of the people that were involved in the Los Wilcos thing, and it just made me, I was just sort of like appreciating my life here, and just appreciating like the kids. I mean, Quinn, who I know you said until recently was like shy about speaking in Spanish. I mean, not on the soccer field.
Yeah.
He was out there like, doing the whole thing, and then they scrimmaged at the end, and it's a poor kid. My son has just turned 5 like a few months ago. There's like 7, 8, 9-year-olds out there. He's having a hard time, but it was great. It was just great watching the whole thing and seeing the coaches and knowing that we were able to help out, with that. Like it's
awesome.
Great.
Yeah. Just real quick shout out to Proyecto Nuevo. So he's I think it's a he. I guess I don't know. I'm making an assumption it's a he, but he comments a lot on our channel. I think he lives in the Galapagos.
Oh, nice.
Perhaps. But he helped us explain the Independiente del Valle
right.
that they I'll read his comment. Independiente del Valle is the football team that feeds players to the glorious Ecuadorian national football team. They've even sold players to Borussia Dortmund of Germany. The best players of Ecuador currently come out of Independiente del Valle.
Awesome.
So thanks for commenting. Appreciate all your feedback. Proyecto Nuevo. Proyecto Nuevo.
Right.
And he also said Ecuador will be the next world soccer champion. We will win in the Copa America and the World Cup. All right, we'll see.
I mean, that would be fun.
That would be awesome.
Just on a side note, I keep hearing how great your son is at soccer. How great
good.
Quinn
No,
is.
he's good.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of local people are like, he's good. Like he's got a future. So
cool.
Independiente del Valle, he might be on the national team one day. That
really
year when
could.
they win
Loves
the
it.
cup.
No, he's good. No,
He's still young, of course, but yeah, I mean, if he continues,
he's
that's awesome.
8, 7.
7 years
Yeah.
old.
That's
He
cool.
loves it though.
That's cool. I wanted to say something that ties into what you were saying about, your desire of bringing the right type of people here and stuff. And it's just a bit of an anecdote, but one of our retreat participants, I drove around and showed him some properties, and on the way to a property, he tells me something along the lines of, and I will misquote it, but something like, you guys are doing God's work by bringing to the attention of the world this place that is unknown, and from a perspective that like, there could be some challenges in where he was from and in other places in the world, and like, he really felt like Vilcabamba and this region was just a safe haven, for the potential turmoil that was coming, and he really felt like I took it, I thought it was beautiful that you'd say that, and that is our intention. This place, I mean, it's still like unknown for most of
Yeah.
the, we get 1,000, 2,000 views per video. Like, there's not that many people that know about Vilcabamba.
Right.
There's a couple thousand gringos here. Like, it's still a very unknown place. But I do feel like if there was, some major changes in the world, this place would kind of, would stay pretty peaceful and safe, probably compared to other places. So I thought
No, that's awesome.
that was a nice comment.
Yeah, and that's that kind of stuff. To make the decision, both the mental decision to move your life to somewhere like this or anywhere else than where you are, particularly a different continent, and then the bureaucratic side to physically make it happen. I don't know if those are going to get easier from this point on. That stuff doesn't typically get easier the way things are trending, both macroeconomically, geopolitically, and then just psychologically. The longer you're in where you are and in that doing life that way with those parameters, it gets harder and harder to break free of that.
And don't get us wrong. I mean, Ecuador is not for everyone. We've said that many times. Ecuador is going through a crisis right now. Of course, here we can't tell as much because we live outside of those areas that are going. But there's some turmoil going on, in Guayaquil and other places, and it's real, right? There were some power outages, which sounds like it's fixed, right? There's now enough rain, enough cloud seeding.
People are going to hate me saying this, but I enjoyed the power. Like, it was just nice. No electronics, no nothing. It felt good, actually. I know most people aren't going to like that.
A friend of mine was kind of like upset about it, and she was saying, like, people need to work. Some people have online jobs, which I totally get.
Yeah,
totally get it.
Yes.
But she was asking me, and I was like, I'd sent her, like, I'm like, well, you can get these devices that that are like power banks if because it was only going out for like an hour or two. And it was scheduled, and but, like, you can get these. And she's like, well, do you have one? Is that what you do? I'm like, I thoroughly enjoy the 2 hours that I can't work and I can just chill out and not have to deal with like the electronics. Like, it's been great. I've been enjoying it.
And some people in town bought what is it called? Not Neuralink. That's the brain implant. Starlink. People have bought that, and again, that's all that stuff for me is double-edged sword, slippery slopes. There's some convenience, but what's the unintended consequences of that?
Right. Well, if someone comes here and works online, they have to be at work, right? So that'd be a deal breaker. They couldn't come if there was no power, no internet.
Well, like
Vilcanet, there's some, exactly.
Vilcanet solutions. Vilcanet has solar, so they're still up. So it's just your in-home router that you need to power.
Exactly. Yeah,
so
I bought one of those in the
bank.
States, just in case to plug in the router. To plug in the router if that ever happens. And then once again, we have cell phone data even during when there's power outages. It's a little slower than usual, but you could still get messages.
And then a third redundancy is the Starlink.
Starlink. We do not condone Neuralink.
No.
Starlink is
right. Questionable. I wanted to read one other comment. Tim says, "Hey guys, I've been going to Ecuador since 2016. My wife is from Guayaquil, and we have family that live there as well. You guys are spot on with Ecuadorian culture. You get what you put into it." And I think that part's really important. I want to jump on that in a second. But for me, Ecuador is like a place lost in time, and I love it for that. We recently purchased a house on the coast, did a remodel. It was so cheap that at some point I kind of felt bad for the price for the labor. He means price for the labor. On the flip side, feel good when you take the family out to eat and it's $25. Coming from New York City, living in Georgia now. So thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. And you get what you put into it. I love that part of it. I've said that for years about this place. It's like people treat you as you are, right? It's kind of the way I framed that, but I think actually he framed it really well. Like you're experiencing that now, right? Like with these relationships that you've built with some of these families, and just sort of like the reward that comes from just being a good person and a solid person, and like sharing who you are with people and taking the time to care and integrating and building a relationship with someone. Then the doors open up here in terms of what you have access to and what people want to do for you and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, that to me is really just the way Ecuador is. If you're a jerk, you're going to get shut out of everything and you're going to not enjoy your life here. And if you You know, and if you're, just cool and nice and care about people, they're going to welcome you with open arms, and you're going to have great relationships and great experiences. And like, that's just kind of, to me, it's like almost like people are a great mirror here for you, for like who you are. Like, if you hate this place, like, I'd look inside.
Right. No, that's true.
That's fine.
And then it gets fun. Like then you could start, there's a little, what are you, ball busting, we call it. Like with some of the guys. Like what did Lee Dare came by the office the other day, and he's a guy I've known for a while, and what did he say?
Oh,
he
was
said,
hilarious. He was
busting
saying like
on
that
me.
you sitting down when you pee.
Right.
He was really funny.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's cool when they get to that point of being trusting you enough to be able to
mess with you.
Right.
get around, call you a mandarina and all that. It wasn't Dia de las Madres; it was Dia de los Mandarinas. I was gonna also quick anecdote. I was talking to a father recently, and he was saying they put their kids here in public school. And he said that was the best thing they did. He said that's the best decision we made since we've come to Ecuador, because we've integrated so much with all of our neighbors, with our community, and they live in a small town just outside Vilcabamba. So they're the only gringo kids in that elementary school that they go to. But he said, now everybody knows us. We made so many friends. The kids made friends. The kids are learning Spanish and stuff. So I think it's
that's awesome.
If you're wanting to do that, it could be a good strategy.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions about the schooling, so we could probably do some more in-depth, maybe some interviews with some folks, because there's lots of options. There's lots of homeschools and different homeschool curriculum and different kind of clubs that kind of support homeschooling. But then there's the public schooling, and there's some folks will talk about the standard of this public school education, but it's much more than that. You get what you talked about when you're immigrating to a place. You get to be in. You get the relationships. You get the community. You get the language. You get some of that nuance by being part of it. So there's value in addition to just the standard public school education that is, I would argue, is invaluable, especially for those for the young kids. And then there's public schools in Loja, there's private schools, there's alternative schools in Vilcabamba, there's tons of different education options. And then even further, there's international schools in Cuenca, and I don't know if there's international schools in Loja or not. No. But depending on what you want, there's something here. Then with the way things are online now, a lot of these things are available online. So you could probably find a school solution that meets your expectations or meets what you're looking to, give your kids. You could find a combination of that here. It might not be one specific, this is the perfect answer. You might need to cobble, a couple different things together to get what you want. But it's here. And
yeah, I mean, you have to have sort of that same flexibility and creativity that you need to have to be successful here in any aspect of your life a little bit, right? Is like to figure those things out. Yeah.
And it's worth mentioning that the school system here and colegio, I believe, similar, but these guys were telling me they start at high school. They start at 7 a.m. and are done by 12:30.
Right.
So they still have the whole afternoon.
1 o'clock.
They want to do some extracurricular or do homeschooling or add to the. So that's it's I think that sounds like a good. We didn't do that for our son yet, but we're considering it maybe at some point. Yeah.
So there's a few more questions, a few more comments I wanted to get to. I don't have time. I have to wrap. There's one more though that I'll read before we wrap up here. From Glenn. So he says, excellent observation, guys, as usual. So sad about basic community activities here that would be difficult or dangerous in the United States. Here, the shared pride and respect is strong, and events are safe for all. Such a simple thing. So much less stress. So little that gringos smuggle stress into Ecuador in their heads. and like that chia pet, they nurture and tend the stress so they'll not run out. You needn't ask, they'll give you a cutting. A sprig of stress so that you can grow in your head. How about this favorite quote, an evil cabal of evil people doing evil? Yeah, you can't go wrong attributing everything that happens to evil malevolent forces. Rain, I think that was China, and power cuts and cloud seeding. Why do I hang out with gringos? Glenn, it might be the crowd. It might be the crowd. But anyways, I thought that was hilarious.
Yes. If you guys are watching and you don't read the comments, check out Glenn's comments. He adds lots of color, perspective. Yes. He's moved here now. He's a local gringo, expat, immigrant, whatever you want to call him. But he adds some very poetic
He does.
Prose.
Got a way with words.
He does have a way with words. Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you, Glenn.
Well, guys, thank you for making it this far. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, hit the like button. We appreciate your comments in the comment section below.
We hope to see you guys here one day.
So until then,
We'll see you next time, guys. Take care.
ciao, guys.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel right here. Check out our real estate channel right here for content that you will absolutely love. Click right here. And if you want to know how we got here, click here.